Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Rsabhadeva Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Friday's connection, spiritual connection through the Srimad Bhagavatam, our daily study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's Friday. Kostuba's
I think
fully
Tell a
getting
Friend
set
Friday is
back.
what you're looking for. Tell a Friend Friday, is that?
Tell a Friend
Is that what
Friday,
you're
yeah.
looking for?
Tell a Friend Friday. If you're listening on the podcast, you can tell a friend about the podcast. That's how this stuff gets around. It gets around real organically. You know, people tell friends, people join, people show up on Zoom. You want to join us on Zoom, you can.
Because we definitely don't have a good promotional strategy going.
We
that's
have no
for
other
sure.
promotional strategy.
So-
Please tell people about this podcast. But it's working. We got a whole community of people that are strangely addicted to it. And it's okay. It's good. We like it.
All right.
How are you? You still jet lagged?
Yeah, jet lagging, but not minding at all. I don't mind going to bed early, waking up early. It's good.
Jet lag is great in one sense because it's like the middle of the day. You're like going to sleep right now. You know, everything just collapses in your body, and it's just like it's over.
Yeah.
I got my hat on. My head's cold. I shaved my head, like bald shaved, and it's
Okay.
cold. I got to put something on my head.
All right.
Air warms you.
Yes. Mara, could you please note that down for the takeaways today? Hair
Takeaway:
warms
hair
you.
warms you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. It might. Thank you. Okay. Well,
Mara, I think we
Mara, tell us what's going on here before there's too much dead air.
Sure. We have a Patreon class or an asana class for our Patreon members with Josh Kane at 10:30 a.m. And back to recovery group meetings today at 12:30 and 1. And then tomorrow, Jivaji is offering her webinar at 1 p.m.
Yes,
Eastern
the
time.
Webinar.
Yeah.
Webinar.
Webinar. It sounds really
It's like a
important.
vlog. It's like futuristic, but you know things change so fast with computers. So it's like a blog, a vlog, a webinar. They're still doing webinars.
Apparently.
I guess apparently they are. So she's on the cutting edge still. A webinar tomorrow. Excited for that. And how do you get to Jivaji again? You got to Instagram. DM Bhakti Recovery Group, and you get that. She's going to explain the whole darn thing. If you're new to it, if you're curious about it, join her. Join her could be exactly what you need. Alrighty.
Nugget time.
Nugget time. It's nugget time. This is good
Who's it from?
because we're dealing with imitation versus following. We get that a lot. It's a subject that comes up a lot. It gets a little confusing.
Okay.
This is from Henry J.M. Nowen.
Mm-hmm.
When the
Do
imitation
you
of
want to?
Christ.
Do you know who he is?
No, I don't know who he is. Do you
I
know?
can help you with that. Yeah.
Help me.
Henry Joseph Michiel Nouwen was a Dutch Catholic priest, professor, writer, and theologian. His interests were rooted primarily in psychology, pastoral ministry, spirituality, social justice, and community. And over the course of his life, Nouwen was heavily influenced by the works of Anton Boysen. Very interesting, right? You remember Anton Boysen? Raghunath?
Yeah.
You sure you do?
Yes.
Do you-
Not really. The name sounds familiar.
Anton Boysen. He was the one that
Is he head of the Satanic Church?
no, that was my friend.
Anton LaVey or something.
Oh no. Anton Boysen was he wrote he wrote about the Dark Night of the Soul, and Ravinder Sarup Prabhu did a
Oh,
whole
that's right.
thing on that, right? Called Cure of Souls.
Yeah. And
Also, yeah.
go on.
Yeah. Also Thomas Merton, Rembrandt, Vincent van Gogh, and others. In any case, we've quoted him before, and he's got another nice quote here today. Another nice nugget. Let's hear what he has to say. This is about imitation, right?
When the imitation of Christ does not mean when the imitation of Christ does not mean to live a life like Christ, but to live your life as authentically as Christ lived his, then there are many ways and forms in which a man can be a Christian.
Okay. I think he got to the essence of it, You were just saying it can be a little hard to understand, right?
Yeah, well, it's one of these things like some Christians do this. They flagellate. Is that a word? They flagell themselves. They flagell
They whip themselves.
They whip themselves. They feel like, now I'm getting closer to Christ because I can feel Christ's pain.
That's an imitation.
He's saying, no, that's imitation. That's not following in the footsteps of Christ.
I don't want to judge everyone who's ever done it, but to me, it has a scent of imitation.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to crucify yourself to be Christian.
Right.
Now there are things that people have gone out on a limb and and gotten killed because of their spiritual beliefs. That's not imitating. That's just like living with some type of integrity. Just like you getting beat up in the parking lot by the guy who called you a Dalai Lama. That was just like you had some integrity. You're trying to doing the good Lord's work, and some security cop tried to kick your butt. So that's different. You weren't following. You were following the footsteps. You weren't imitating.
But even if that never happened, that's in other words, one doesn't have to suffer injury to be a Christian.
There you go.
Right.
We don't have Just like Haridas Thakur, a great saint in our tradition, was beaten. You don't have to be beaten to be a great saint. Not all great saints are beaten.
Right. But no, the fact that you mentioned Haridas is interesting, right? Because what Prabhupada would often speak about the need to follow as opposed to imitate. And often when he was bringing this up, he would use Haridas Thakur as an example. Now, Haridas Thakur is a figure in our lineage, right? Going way back 500 years. He was born in a Muslim family, right? But his practice of bhakti was incredibly deep and authentic. And his practice was to chant 3 lakh.
300,000.
300,000. Yeah, right. That's 100,000 is a lakh. Yeah. So
hey Siri, how much is a lakh?
100,000. It's 300,000 names. You got it, Siri? Back me up.
You know what?
Siri doesn't deal with lakh. When you say lakh to Siri, yeah.
Can you get how much is a lakh and how much is a crore? Let's get to the bottom of this.
I'm almost certain lakh is 100,000.
Okay, I think it's lakh is 100,000.
Yeah, so he would chant 300,000 names. So if you do that mathematically, what that means is 192 rounds a day, I think.
What? A crore,
yeah,
is 10 million.
Yeah, and a lakh is 100,000, right?
Okay, look up lakh. I think it is 100,000. That's a lot of chanting. Matter of fact,
well, 192 rounds.
I don't even get that. I was like, what are we supposed to do? Is that how do we?
We don't. He does. That's the point. No, that's the point. We don't have to do that, right?
Okay.
Basically that meant he was chanting all day, because if you add it up, I think it means 192 rounds, which basically means you're chanting all day. So that was his thing, and now we might say, oh, that's it right there, right? Or let me go to Radhakund. Let me move to Radhakund, the most sacred of all places, and sit there and chant all day. And Srila Prabhupada, he was really very discouraging of this idea, right? He would say, no, you're just imitating, but be authentic, right? And so he would say, Haridas Thakur had the capacity to keep his mind fully absorbed chanting all day long. And
Mm.
Prabhupada recognized very few of us have that. If we had that ability, then fine, no problem. But he said, keep yourself engaged, like engage your mind in so many different ways to serve. And that's what he said here. This Henry said, he said, when the imitation of Christ does not mean to live a life like Christ, but to live your life as authentically as Christ lived, then there are
Sure.
many ways and forms in which a man can be a Christian, right? There are many different, that involves your own capacity. This should be considered, your ability to say, the point is we want to keep the mind focused, keep it in samadhi in one way or another. Let's find an authentic way to do that, a way where I'm not posing as something that I'm not, like let's say if my desire is to become deeply God conscious, and I want nothing else than that, then whatever best facilitates that, I accept, and that's called authenticity, right? What you see is what you get.
We have some quality that we're born with, and he's a good example yesterday. Patrick Heffernan, he's live on Zoom right now. But I came into the house and he was singing, because we had a little program here last night, and Bobby came over and Mara came over and Moses and Mallory, but we had a little kirtan program, and Patrick's just, he's like an actor and a singer and a dancer, and he can do all this stuff comes natural. And he naturally, when he engages that in Maya, I'm sure it's not good. When he engages in Krishna, it becomes incredibly beautiful, and he becomes empowered, and he lights up the room.
Yeah.
And when you've got a great voice, then you just sing for Krishna like that, and everyone else benefits from, and you benefit from it. But I've met people who can just sit down and study for 6 hours. I can't do that. If I try to do that, I will lose my mind. I will lose my taste for bhakti as well. Even if I could do it for like 10 days, I'll end up being like, this isn't for me. This path isn't for me. But there is something that I like. I like to talk. I like to talk. I like to talk. I like to hear. I like to listen to things. And I like to talk. And it's like the podcast is good for me because I get to talk. And because of that, I think it's good for me, and it's good for people who like to hear and listen.
Yeah. And we look at these archetype great bhakti yogis, in our lineage, and we see, oh, okay, look at this example. They sat down in Vrindavan, they chanted all day, they lived on just a few drops of buttermilk, and we may say, oh, I want to be like that, but within that desire may be like, I want to show the world that I'm one of these great saints too, and then we imitate that behavior, but it's not authentic. We're not actually getting any traction in one spiritual life, and the mind can be anywhere. So that's also Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying, it's just a pretender. If externally you're one thing and internally your mind is another place. So Prabhupada was like, be practical, engage that mind, engage your body, engage your mind, engage it in a positive way that brings your mind to Krishna. You don't have to imitate, but be authentic.
And whatever you're doing, suppose you can study, suppose you can sing, whatever you're doing, we're going to be challenged, where our things are going to come up that we have to work on. Am I singing for my ego? Am I studying for my ego? You could be incredibly learned, a Vedic pundit, but you can be incredibly arrogant also. So whatever we got and whatever we're good at, we're going to have to face off with the demons that are going to start to manifest. And once you get good at this stuff, and once you become dedicated to this stuff, here come the demons. They start to come right in front of your face, and you start to they start to come out of the woodwork like a bunch of ants. Like, you can peel the wall back, and all these bugs come out, and that's part of our purification process. Right. So we're finding what we're good at, we're noticing what we're good at, and then we're gauging that in bhakti, and then we're starting to slay demons.
All right. Let's slay some demons today, Ragnar.
Slay some demons. All right. Alrighty. Let's be nug.
Yeah.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhakti bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
All right.
I was just thinking,
What's that?
last minute squirrel. Because we have the super soul, you see people coming, wanting to like be a part of it in any way they can. Now, some
Super
people,
Soul Farm you're talking about.
yeah,
Let's
Super
be
Soul,
clear.
our farm where we live, and we do programs here regularly. You see people who just like the idea of, you guys are a community, I want to contribute. And we've had people who just really know nothing about spirituality or Krishna Bhakti or Vedic Dharma or Sanatan Dharma. And they're just like, I want to help with your gardening. I'm a gardener and I want to contribute. And some people are very focused, like yourself. I want to give a class on the Bhagavad Gita or a lecture series on the Bhagavad Gita. And some people are just like, I'm a builder. How can I contribute? Or some people are like, I've got some money. Can I contribute some money to what you're doing? Whatever it is, people want to offer something. And certain people can really dial in their offering, and see some people want to, and you can see how the Bhagavad Gita breaks this down to get us out of our own ego. And where it's, and what is like the very definition of materialism is, it's all about me. And then as we refine it, it becomes more about, this is about the center and being part and satelliting around the center. So you can see all varying degrees with this project, how people have come around and done some type of offering in this regard. Does that have anything to do with what we're just talking about?
I'm not sure, but threw it in there.
You're giving me this like the Office face,
Me or
like,
Mara? Me or Mara? Who are you talking about?
you're this blank stare, like, and
Yeah, you're
rocking
pointing
off.
me. No. Okay.
Okay.
It's just a question of flow, like you take one subject and then you flow and then you get into the next thing and then where you chanted the mantra, then you go into the thing, and then you just went back and more or less said what you just said earlier.
I know.
Before we chant the mantra.
I did. But sometimes when I chant this mantra, special inspiration bubbles come up in me. And I was like, I got to tell the world about this.
All right.
And you're like, no, you don't.
No, I wasn't intentionally
it's
stone-faced or anything.
Deadpan face. All right. We're in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Text 9. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
And it's Sukadeva Goswami speaking.
Yeah, so what just happened yesterday? Rsabhadev's body went up in the fire.
Yeah.
Right. So now he disappeared. He disappeared. Now we're going to hear about how people followed him or perhaps imitated him.
Mm-hmm.
He gave great teachings, to his sons that we're reading last chapter about how to have no enemy in this world and see the soul in every living being, et cetera, not become entangled. And, but those, we can follow those instructions and apply them in different ways in our life. Or we could imitate his external behavior, right? So it gets to that point here.
And flagellate ourselves.
You didn't do that.
Sukadeva Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Yeah. My dear king, the king of Kanka, Venka, and Kutaka, whose name was Arhat, heard the activities of Rsabhadeva and, imitating Rsabhadev's principles, introduced a new system of religion. Taking advantage of Kali Yuga, the age of sinful activity, King Arhat, being bewildered, gave up Vedic principles, which are free from risk, and concocted a new system of religion opposed to the Vedas. That was the beginning of Jain Dharma, and many other so-called religions followed this atheistic system.
Okay.
Jains are atheistic?
I don't know too much about the Jains, but perhaps they don't have a personal conception of God. That'd be my guess.
Is that the actual word for word? How could that be? Is that, or is this? That means Jains were around a long time.
But,
gotta get
well,
to because
that's a
this is
possibility, or
hundreds of thousands of years ago.
sometimes it's prophetic. Sometimes Bible time is prophetic. Want to see when Jainism began?
Yeah, I'm gonna research that one, Mara.
Origin of Jainism.
Just let's Wikipedia Jainism, because Jains are really in one sense they're very into like, you know, Vedic thought, etc.
Apparently, here they're rejecting. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to see. Well, it depends how much they're rejecting. Let's read about it. I know nothing. Jainism is one of the world's oldest religions, originating in India at least 2,500 years ago. I love how they say they stroke with one hand and slap with the other hand. The spiritual goal of Jainism is to become liberated from the endless cycle of rebirth to achieve an all-knowing state called moksha.
Okay.
Sounds good right there. Maybe we should turn this into a Jain show.
Just you don't
Wisdom
have
of the Jains. Anyway,
what we were searching for the conception of God there, Raghunath. What do we
all right, Mara. It's sometimes you see them in India walking on the highway because they don't. I think one of their things is they don't travel faster than they can walk, which seems pretty safe. You know, no car accidents, no falling off a horse.
Okay. In any case, let's not get. Let's
right.
just try to
all
stay
right,
more with the
Mara's
principle.
doing some research.
Yeah. Okay. Want to read the next verse?
Yeah, text 10. People who are the lowest among men and bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord will give up original Varnashram Dharma and its rules and regulations. They will abandon bathing 3 times daily and worshiping the Lord.
Okay.
I don't bathe 3 times daily, if you want the God honest truth. Do you?
Well, the Brahmanas were meant to do that.
Do you?
I'm not going to talk to you about my bathing habits. But generally, I don't.
You don't bathe 3 times.
3 times a
day.
No.
Do you do 2?
Yeah,
you bathe
commonly,
twice.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
do you bathe twice?
Always.
You do too. Am I the only guy that doesn't bathe twice? Well, maybe. Okay.
Right. But let's talk about what's happening here. You know, it was like we had this example of.
Well, I'm feeling like maybe I've given it up too. Maybe I've given up all these rules too.
Well, maybe you have, but let's just try to. You know, we heard about Rsabhadeva, and we heard about his unusual lifestyle, his unusual spiritual practice. Right?
Yeah.
What did it involve?
Oh, what you're asking me? What his? I mean, he was walking around like a madman. He was He was covered in feces.
Yeah,
at times.
Unique feces, but yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it said he appeared like a madman. His hair was disheveled. He walked around with stones in his mouth. Sometimes he would lie in one place and not even move for like long periods of time, like a python. Right? He had these very severe forms of renunciation, even apparently like bizarre type behavior, right? But there was a purpose to it. The purpose was he was removing himself from any kind of influence of the material realm through this. You know, externally, people were keeping away from him. People weren't coming around him, involving him in material affairs. It kept him out of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now this is saying that we can. What do we learn from this? Do we try to follow that example, or do we listen to the teachings that he gave to his sons? You know, it's interesting because the prominent son of his, the eldest son, and the most well-known of his sons will be Bharat, right? Who we're going to hear about starting in the next chapter, right? Yes? Mm. Yeah. Did you hear what I said? Or are you just reading the you're so transparent. It's like absurd. Come on, man. Stick with me. I need to talk with you, okay?
Okay. So, I'm go.
Yeah. Okay. So he set this, he lived in this certain way. Now, we can approach him in 2 different ways. We can say, that's real spirituality, to live like he did. I'm going to dishevel my hair. I'm going to walk around naked. I'm going to put stones in my mouth. But if I did that, I wouldn't be absorbed like he was. But what I could do is he gave teachings to his sons, and I could try to follow those teachings and apply them in my life in a way that's practical, in a way that's genuine, in a way that's authentic. Right? So these verses right now are speaking about some people tried to follow his external example without focusing merely on the teachings, and they abandoned in doing so, because Rsabhadeva, you could see he just seemed to be walking away from these aren't the kind of teachings that we find in the Vedic literature, like Varnashram Dharma, how to be a good, brahmachari, celibate student, how to live as a responsible householder, et cetera, et cetera. He wasn't doing any of that. He kind of like turned his back on it and was living this really far out. Okay, we could imitate that. And in imitating that, we lose so much.
We see this also. We see this also even in modern day. We hear about people who are like, there's a romantic idea of living in a cave. There's a romantic idea of wandering off with all your, and you see this in India too, Westerners coming and trying to adopt some renunciation, but not even getting the basics. We see this in the yoga community. We're like, well, yeah, I'm completely detached from everything, but I have sex with all my students, or I have I smoke tons of marijuana, or I do, because I feel very spiritual doing it, or they'll just infuse whatever they want to infuse, mixed with a couple of like Vedic regulations, and basically create their own. Yeah, and it's like, you're not, when you start to water things down with your own desires, your own concoctions, then it's like watering down orange juice. After you water it down so much, it's not orange juice any longer. It's just orange flavored water. So Vedic teachings are very exact, how to follow them, and of course there's room for individuality. I'm going to be different than you. I'm going to be different than you no matter what we are. Even if we're doing the same podcast every day, I'm a different being. That's okay.
And that can be reflected in your practice.
And it's going to be reflected in how I worship, etc. And my own demons are going to manifest, and then your demons are going to manifest, and those are the demons we have to slay. But I can't just start creating my own, because I'm not fitting it, because I just want to create my own path.
Or
you can't just create your own system of you can't create your own system.
So you know who you're thinking like, Raghunath?
Who? Rsabhadeva?
No, you're Srila Prabhupada, because in the commentary, this is what he says. You mentioned something. What did you mention? Like, anyway, here's what he says. He says, presently, the hippies in the Western countries fit this description.
Great example, because they have this idea like, who cares about family? I'm walking away from my parents. I'm going to live on the streets. My house it's too complicated.
Hair. Yeah. He says Prabhupada is giving on you tell with so many crazy hippies, right? He was at Haight-Ashbury. He saw it all.
I can't even imagine how crazy Haight-Ashbury must have been.
I know, really. So he says, Prabhupada says they were irresponsible and unregulated. They're just all kids living in the street, just getting high like all day, right?
And in the name of being more spiritual. And I get it. We've lived conservative, conventional lives. Our parents did. They had one job their entire life. They followed rules and they had, maybe one wife their entire life. They raised their kids a certain way with lots of rules. And in the hippies, it just exploded. They were like, it's over. We're over it.
Yeah.
It backfired, or there was frustration, or what's it called? Repression. And it exploded. And then we're like, now no rules. Let's try that outfit on.
Yeah, swing this pendulum the other way, right?
Yeah.
Like rules that we don't understand, and you see it all the time. Like I saw a long time ago, I saw a documentary on the Weathermen. The Weathermen, the Weather Underground. You know about the Weather Underground? The Weather Underground.
Who's the Weatherman?
Oh, Raghunath. These are the things I was into when I was a kid, checking out all these things.
Check out the Weathermen. Look up
the Weathermen were like these kind of radical political yippies. Like they were kind of like fighting the system, and they were they got into bombs and all kinds of stuff. But anyway,
really?
Yeah, you remember that?
Okay, the Weathermen was a far left militant organization, first active in 1969, founded by the Ann Arbor campus of the University of Michigan. All this hell starts at the
Michigan. It's all Ann Arbor.
It's originally known as the Weathermen. The group was organized as a faction of Students for a Democratic Society. Oh, it's the SDS.
Okay. The SDS. Okay.
Officially known as the Weather Underground Organization. Beginning in 1970, the group's expressed political goal was to create a revolutionary party to overthrow the United States government.
You know,
All right.
but you know, in the West Village, they made a mistake and they blew up. You know, they blew up their own building by mistake. Do you remember that?
Whoops.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Any case, I saw an documentary on one of them, and they were describing like what it was like. You know, like just like you were saying, let's throw out all the rules. This was just to hold us down. This is just a man just trying to oppress us. You know, throw out religion, throw out societal norms, throw out any kind of gender. You know, sexuality, just everything. Like throw it out.
Sounds familiar.
And so, and so,
Sounds-
and so, they thought the idea of monogamy was like just some, you know,
It's so old
social
fashioned
tool
monogamy,
of
isn't it? I was
oppression.
trying to tell Mara about that. Monogamy is so old fashioned.
It's just, and so like, and then they
Explore new ways.
and they're doing interviews with like people, like, you know, with these same people, you know, 20 years later. And they're
They're
just
all a
realizing
wreck.
how
They're all a
insane the whole
mess.
thing was. You know, they're like, yeah, it did not work.
It
you
did,
know?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, these are untested waters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're untested
that's-
waters.
you know, let's put it this way. It's a fact that you could go to the different spiritual or religious traditions of the world and take their morality and take their regulations, and no question they've been used as tools of oppression. No question that they've been misapplied, you know, and they've been applied in ways that have harmed people. No doubt. But that doesn't mean that they
Mhm.
can't be applied in a helpful and productive way, you know? So
Yeah.
just because you've seen them applied in a way that's destructive doesn't mean that they can't be applied in a way that's constructive. And when you just swing, and this you know what this goes to, Raghunath?
What?
What this plays right into is one of our favorite old stories on this theme.
Naked man in a box.
No, it had nothing to do with naked, naked man in the box. No, had to do with the veterinarian with his assistant. You know that story?
Oh yeah, I do know
Yeah.
that story. Let me.
You want
let
to
me-
pull that one up?
Yeah.
Yeah, pull that one up for us.
I got this one here.
Okay.
Oh
This
yes.
is this. I think the story was told by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. It was told by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
There was a famous veterinarian who traveled to many farms and had a good success in curing illness of animals.
Okay.
The veterinarian also had an assistant who accompanied him, but this assistant had an envious and ambitious
Uh-oh.
desire
Little
to replace his
foreshadowing.
master
A little foreshadowing what's to come.
and to prematurely become a master veterinarian himself.
Okay.
Mara, what about that?
Why are you bringing up Mara?
No, I just
It has nothing to do with Mara.
ambitious. And
Very
on one
ambitious.
occasion, the veterinarian was called to a farm where he discovered a valuable horse whose neck was greatly swollen. The
Mm.
veterinarian opened the mouth of the horse, examined inside, and then asked the apprentice to hand him a bag. Taking from the bag a wooden mallet, the veterinarian proceeded to smash at the horse's neck. And
Mm.
very soon after this unusual action, the horse's swelling subsided, and the farmer thankfully praised and paid the veterinarian for his work.
Okay.
Almost immediately after the incident, the apprentice deserted the doctor and decided to become a veterinarian himself. Word soon got around that the apprentice was posing as a genuine veterinarian, but was causing havoc wherever he went. The report was that the so-called veterinarian was in fact killing animals whenever they came in their various came in there with various growths or cysts and swellings rather than administering the necessary treatment.
So whenever he saw a horse with any kind of ailment, he just
He
broke
just-
out that hammer and started pounding, you know?
Right. That would make sense according to the big cyst in the neck.
Mhm.
Finally, the master veterinarian caught up with this rascal and strongly rebuked him. What do you think you're doing? I hear you're imitating my practice, but as a result, you are killing poor animals wherever you go. The cheating apprentice replied, but I am only doing what I saw you do, O master.
Mm.
The
It's your fault.
apprentice then explained that he was only doing what he had seen his master do in that last visit. I couldn't quite understand. I did everything that you did whenever I went to see an ailing animal. I would smash it with the mallet, but unfortunately, the results were not as good as yours. You fool, said the real veterinarian.
Fool.
What you saw was a very special case. The
Mhm.
horse had swallowed a watermelon.
Oh, that's
So
what
I
it
had to
was.
break it
Oh.
from the outside It was a particular to this particular case and not a general practice for all cases.
Just so they had a big watermelon stuck in its throat.
Yeah, that was a very common thing in those times.
And apparently it wasn't. It was a very special case.
It was a very unique thing. Horses would wander into
watermelons are smaller in India, by the way.
Okay, because that didn't make any sense. I was like, watermelons are pretty big. I was like, did he eat a slice of watermelon? I'm going to eat a slice of watermelon and not chew it. That's what I was thinking.
So here's the thing, right? Whether we reject, like he could have rejected the teacher and said, I'm just going to do my own thing. Or he could have said, I'm going to imitate the teacher and do exactly what he does, but without truly understanding it. We have to be like sober in this lifetime, right? There's something to tradition that's valuable. We should try to learn it, learn how to apply it,
Right.
We should also learn how to innovate so that it always works, positively rather than negatively.
Sure.
But like the weathermen, they're like, oh, all of this stuff, just throw it all out the window. Everything collapses then,
Sure.
So you gotta.
I mean, wisdom of sages, it's sort of innovative. It's not like we're saying, well, there's one way to practice bhakti. We're practicing it, but it's on a podcast. It's, but we also ask for blessings from other people. We get other people's advice when we do these type of things. So yeah, there's ways to flow in the traffic, so to speak. There's ways to flow with the current, with the way the traffic's moving.
Yeah.
It's just, you just can't recreate. No, I'm not going to follow any rules of the road. I'm just going off-roading. That's what's going on. People want to off-road their spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is you just don't get anywhere.
Well, here's what Prabhupada says about the hippies. Okay. Who kind of had adopted the look of like a quote unquote a sadhu, right? That the beard, the long hair.
Hippies look very like sadhu-ish.
Yeah. So presently, the hippies in the Western countries fit this description. They are irresponsible and unregulated. Prabhupada saw that, right?
Yeah.
They do not bathe, and they deride standard Vedic knowledge. They concoct new lifestyles and religions. There are many hippie groups at the present moment, but they're all originated from King Arhat. It all goes back to King Arhat, who imitated the activities of Lord Rsabhadeva, who was situated on the Paramahamsa stage. Interesting that Prabhupada would go to America. He's never seen anything like hippies before, right?
He's like, these are followers of King Arhat. I can tell.
I can draw the line. I can make the connection here like immediately. That's what they're doing.
Maybe I'm a follower of King Arhat because I have to bathe more.
You need to bathe more.
I do bathe once a day. I always bathe once a day.
At the very
maybe
least.
I should bathe. You know what? I will say that when I'm living like in India or in when I'm very, very laid back, I'll bathe more times. I'll bathe 3 times, 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But it's hard with modern life. They're like, okay, it's noon, time for my noon bath. That's hard to do.
Bathe before you eat lunch, right? It's nice.
Before lunch is nice. Before lunch is nice. Time to bathe.
Okay.
Before dinner. I tell you, when you do bathe 3 times a day, you feel different, don't you? Because as a brahmachari, I used to bathe more times.
It's sattvic.
It's more sattvic bathing. And you know what? You feel good. You feel like, you know what? Life is good.
Especially if you live near a river, you bathe in. That's like I was doing, in my port, bathe in the river at noon every day.
Taking your noon bath.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Love it.
So did you read this whole verse? Did you read the whole thing of 10?
It's a blur, Prabhu. It's a ball of blur.
Okay.
We started going off
Kali,
on tangents.
people more inclined to religious. Consequently, they'll naturally derive Vedic authority. The followers of Vedic authority, the Brahmanas, the supreme personality of God, and they're just deriding everyone, right?
I mean, you could take any piece of the Bhagavatam and make your own religion up.
You could.
Because, I'm just saying it's
but
you're not going to get the results you want.
Okay, I was just making sure you weren't contemplating doing. Hey, I didn't know you were saying that. Like, hey, we could take any part of this and make our own religion.
You thought I was recommending it. I wasn't.
Okay. All right. Why don't you read the next verse? Text 12.
Text 11. Low class people,
yeah,
to their gross ignorance, introduced a system of religion that deviates from the Vedic principles, following their own mental concoctions. See, this is what we're not into, mental concoctions. Right. They automatically fall down into darker regions of existence. It's going to lead you away.
That's what the weathermen found, like they threw everything out and it just got dark.
Yeah, it's just like, what happens. Sometimes you get caught up in traffic because there's a little bit of a, what do they call it? A bottleneck in the road. So they're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive on the curb. And they're flying down the curb and then something happens, something crazy. They're running over, there's stuff on the curb, some type of, metal, or they hit a guardrail, or there's a cop right there. And it never really works in the biggest picture of where they're going. If they're lucky, they get back on the path, but there is a path. There is a path. There are practices which are like authorized to use.
I think here's the key, right? I remember back some time we had, was it Ravenel? He did this film.
Yeah,
on
Reginald.
Ravenel, I think it was.
Ravenel.
And he did a film that had to do with girls in India and how like so many of them aren't offered education and the reasons why, right? And he illustrated nicely. What was that film called?
That was like the heat of the pandemic. Remember?
Yeah, do you remember?
It's like when it was all falling apart.
Maybe you can look that up.
Okay. Chambers, I think.
Yeah,
Chambers.
Yeah. So it was a really interesting film, and he really illustrated nicely in that film that it wasn't that necessarily the people that were creating these, and it was creating some very harmful, by interviewing some of these girls, you could really see that it was causing great, pain and disruption and, problems in their lives, this misapplication of tradition.
Mhm.
And that the people that were, poverty had a lot to do with it, like families in difficult circumstances reaching to tradition and kind of misapplying it in ways. But what I felt, what he really illustrated nicely there was that it's not that we have to throw out tradition, but tradition is meant to serve a purpose, and we always have to see that it's serving its purpose, right?
Mm.
And commonly with the passage of time, that becomes lost, and it does become a tool of oppression in different ways. The answer isn't to throw out all tradition. The answer also isn't to follow tradition blindly. It's to be, clear-headed and thoughtful and figure out what is the purpose of the tradition? What is it meant to serve? To the extent that it serves the tradition, let's preserve it. To the extent that it doesn't, let's adjust it, right? So that we're moving forward. So that, and compassion always has to be there. If compassion is lost in it, we know that we're veering off course.
Sounds like you're saying the main thing is to keep the main thing.
It's not easy to do. It takes sobriety. It takes clarity. It takes a good follower, but also someone that's creative enough to be innovative. Do you have it there, Mara, the film?
Yeah, it's called A Girl Can Touch the Sky.
No, I don't think it was called
That's
A Girl
not
Can
it.
Touch the Sky.
You're just pushing some other agenda for some other girl film.
It should be on our
The
Instagram
Eat, Pray,
account.
Love. You might have heard about it.
You sure A Girl Can Touch the Sky wasn't like some kind of like promotional slogan or something like that? Or the subtitle or something? Is it?
Yeah,
What is it?
that's what I came up with according to.
A Girl Can
Kylie
Touch
Brown
the Sky.
says Road to Vrindavan.
Road to Vrindavan. That's what it was. Road to Vrindavan. Yeah. Okay.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay. All right.
I read that book.
Did you?
I did. It was one of the few books
I
I've
couldn't
read.
make it through it myself.
Yeah. Well, the three places, Italy, Bali, and India. They're my three favorite
Like, oh.
places too. So
Okay.
It was previously known as the Road to Vrindavan.
Oh, they changed
Oh,
it.
they
Mara,
changed
you're
the
right
title.
on. You see?
Mara,
Girl Can Touch the
how
Sky.
dare we doubt you?
Okay. All right.
I wonder what was there a board meeting? Okay, listen. I appreciate the film. We like what you're doing, but hear me
title?
out here.
Hear
We
me
got
out.
another. A girl.
That's exactly
can
what
touch this.
happened.
Yeah, there's some board meeting changed that. All right, Kostuba.
Okay, text 12.
We're still doing the Bible time.
Yeah, why don't we stick with it?
In this age of Kali, people are overwhelmed by the gunas, the modes of passion and ignorance. I am.
Mhm.
Check. Lord Rsabhadeva incarnated himself to deliver them from the clutches of Maya.
Okay. But through his teachings, not so much through imitating his example. Right? That's
Yeah.
what's being stressed here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got so with that, we're going to hear about how, here it says learned scholars, how they glorify Rsabhadeva, right? What he taught. So exceptional. Okay. Hit it.
Learned scholars chant about the transcendental qualities of Lord Rsabhadeva in this way. Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharatvarsh is considered the most pious. People of
Varsha means?
Bharatvarsh, huh?
Varsha means?
It's like the land of Maharaj Bharat.
Meaning what? Where?
It means the planet Earth.
Well, here specifically, it's meaning India within the planet Earth, right?
It means
On
like
this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharatvarsha, India, is considered to be the most
It
pious.
seems like there's different ways, vantage points to way to look at this, but yes.
Okay. Well, here it's certainly Prabhupada's translating it that way because he says,
Okay.
"Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands." Right?
Okay, people of Bharatvarsh are accustomed to glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnations as Lord Rsabhadeva and others. All these activities are very auspicious for the welfare of humanity. It is.
That's like we were talking yesterday. Like you're passing through the airport to this day, right?
What?
Yesterday, what? That the people of India have an inclination to glorify the Lord in his incarnations.
What does that got to do with the airport?
We were talking yesterday about how you passing through the airport. You were going on and on about it. How we pass the airport and it's like people like Jai Shri Radhe. You know, it's like like the people that like the TSA people or whatever. You know. It's like,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
They do. They really glorify the personality of Godhead
To this day.
this day. Yes.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Are you ISKCON? They always say that. Are you ISKCON? They're so happy. They're so happy. Okay.
Okay, 14.
Who is that especially when every other, I mean, I travel a lot. So every time I travel with my deities and my deities are stones. So every time I go through some foreign place, like, you're laying over in France and you have to go through immigration. They're like, what are these stones? They're like, are these weapons? I'm like, no. And you have to explain a holy stone. I'm a Hindu. But in India, they open, oh, what is in the bag? Oh, shalagram. Oh, Thakurji. Oh,
And then they're offering obeisances.
they're so happy.
Well, I'll tell you something, Raghunath. Geeta Priya just coming here on her flight, coming through England, when she was coming through security in London, they opened up her little satchel that had her Sheila in it. You know, her Sheila and her Sheila, has beautiful face and smile and everything. And so actually it's in like a little silver case,
Yeah.
And so a British woman opened this. So this isn't India, right? This is England, right?
Right.
And she opens it up and she looked at that face and she just lost. She's like, oh, who do we have here?
Who do we have here?
Who do we have here?
Was she Indian, hopefully?
No, she wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was just totally like she almost broke into tears.
Oh, you mean she wasn't even a devotee?
No, but the face of Krishna just touched her heart, and the smile of the eyes and the smile of Krishna. She was just like, oh,
ever think that could it might be some like spontaneous remembrance from a previous life? You know,
whatever it was very auspicious. Because she was just touched, and she was just like she accepted the Sheila as a person. For people that I think we need to explain, but in India, there's this tradition that that the Lord, that God can manifest within certain stones, and they don't even need to be whereas in carved stone, we might do an installation ceremony, a ritual for God to accept that form so that it can become an object of our meditation. That in these stones, there's no need for that. They already are. God's already existing in them. And their faces are decorated and they're meditated upon. So when she saw this face, she was just like, oh, who do we have here? She was almost crying. She was like so touched. It was such a beautiful smiling. We hear about in Bhagavatam how whenever Lord Vishnu manifests, he's got this smile and he's just soft and attractive and kind. And you just see that face and you melt. She melted.
She melted. Whenever I see your smiling face, I have to smile myself because I love you. She was probably singing that song as Geeta Priya went through the airport.
She may have been.
Whenever I see that pretty little pout, it turns me inside. That's a good. I sing that song like once a day.
Yeah, I know. Often on the show.
Oh my God, who sings that?
That's James Taylor.
Really? Stupid knows these things. Yep. Shalagrams. People don't get them. We get it. We worship stones. It's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
When you really understand it, it makes perfect sense. When you don't,
When you
understand
really
it doesn't make
understand, it's
any
like,
sense.
of course.
It's like, why
oh
isn't
my
everybody
God.
doing this?
Yeah, it's like everybody should. You're right. So anyway,
Okay, I think
Where
we're
we
done
at?
for today. I think it's time for takeaways, sir.
all righty. Mara's
we can
got
finish
a
this
whole
chapter
truckload of takeaways.
We can finish this chapter on Monday. Yeah, we got a Q&A tomorrow, right? We didn't announce that.
Oh yeah.
People should email us questions. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. If you have questions. for
People
us.
understand everything. There's no need for questions.
No,
Yeah,
always
everybody
questions are
email
good.
us a question. I'm sure you have a question.
Think deep.
Takeaways.
Yeah.
Follow authentically, but don't imitate.
Okay.
Boring. But yes. I mean, it's like, come on. We need a real takeaway.
We're gonna let these.
I'm
people-
never wearing that shirt.
That wasn't the
Gauge
point.
your natural proclivities in Krishna's service.
I wouldn't wear a proclivity shirt.
I got a good one. Are you messing with the computer?
Yeah.
Our demons come out to purify us.
Yeah, I'd wear that.
Okay.
Hey, the demons.
I'd wear that at a Danzig reunion.
Follow the teachings, not just the external example.
Mhm.
You can't just create your own system. All
But
right,
you
I got one for
can.
you.
We're not saying, but you can.
Oh, really?
All right.
But
Don't
can't you?
off-road. Don't
Can't you,
off-road
though?
your. Don't off-road your spiritual practice.
Don't off-road it.
What?
Off-road.
Don't off-road.
Stay on the road.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. There you go.
That's a
Christuba.
shirt.
Knit that
Okay.
into your scarf.
Okay.
The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
That's a classic.
Always
one.
good. Always good.
It makes perfect sense to worship stones.
It
Totally does, especially smiling stones.
And
And
Gonna be take a bath. I know it. Take an extra bath.
anarchy is not the answer.
Anarchy is not the answer. I thought it was definitely going to be take another bath.
Sorry, I lost the.
Mara is totally lost with our closing music. It's pulling up snow
Mara?
tires now.
you wrestled this responsibility. There you go. Okay.
Because Raghu's always messing
I'm
with
searching.
the
That's because I'm searching snow tires.
Well, you always like fix. You're always messing with the little windows and like pulling
I've got
stuff
thousands of chrome.
around for no good reason.
Why do you do that, Raghunath?
Whenever I see her pretty little pout, it turns me inside out. Oh, everybody, thanks for joining us. What a great day today. Looking forward to today. It's Ekadashi today. You know what that means? We're going to try an experiment. We're going to add a little bit more Krishna. Add a little Krishna to your life today. Little extra Krishna. It is like special coupon day here on Ekadashi on the 11th day of the moon. They say you add Krishna to your life today. It is the mother of devotion. You need a little devotion in your life? Here's what you can do. You can read a little bit about Krishna today. You can hear, you can just YouTube search some kirtans, play that in the background of your day. Maybe try chanting some japa. If you're on Zoom, you better be chanting japa. We want 1 round a day from everybody doing Zoom today. Everybody, you've got a 1 round japa minimum. You got that? You find some malas and you do 1 round. That means a Hare Krishna mantra once on each beat. You can all find time.
Karuna's asking, is there sweet baby Krishna today?
Is there sweet? What day is it?
It's Ekadashi.
Friday. Oh, maybe. Yes. I
Yes?
gotta take my kid to break dancing today. Let me think of it. I think we can. You want to do it?
It's a maybe, Karuna. It's a maybe.
How about a maybe? How about a maybe? How can we get back to you? How do you get back
We're
to
gonna get
people?
back
How do you
to you.
tell people?
You got to get back to her before she goes to sleep, though, so that she knows she's got to get up.
Okay.
Oh,
How do you-
Greg
how do you let them
DeGesu,
know?
thank you so much for your kind gift. I got it. Oh, that was awesome. Thank you.
Hey,
See that?
Kostuba's getting gifts?
I'm gonna-
Okay,
I got a
hey,
gift.
a prayer goes out to a vegan cannoli's wife. Hare Krishna, she's going for surgery, knee replacement.
Oh.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. That's for her, Cannoli G. It's the first time I called him Cannoli G. Cannoli G. Cannoli Maharaj. I could see him as an Cannoli Baba. That's a good name. Like some people don't get a name.
Baba.
Some people haven't got a name yet. He's got like hundreds of names.
How about Need Cannoli?
Need
Baba?
cannoli Baba.
Need Cannoli Baba. Feed Cannoli Baba.
What's that?
Feed Cannoli Baba.
Feed cannoli Baba. Okay, I gotta wake up the kids. Okay, guys. It is a beautiful day. It's a very, very beautiful, magical day today.
You do the blow the kiss now, Ragnar? Is that your stuff?
What? Okay, close it. She's not breakdancing.